All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, it's been nearly a week since LSU moved on from Brian Kelly as their head football coach, and as the stewards of this program have gone to work to try to find his replacement. Now, make no mistake about it that LSU has the money as well as the resources to make an attractive and lucrative offer to a prospective head coach. But will the folks in Baton Rouge end up getting what they want? I say this because when it comes to football, there's pressure and then there's LSU pressure, as finishing in the top five there does not guarantee job security. Now, prior to Brian Kelly taking over, his two most recent predecessors at LSU, and Les Miles and Ed Orgeron, both won national championships, but that didn't prevent them from getting canned. The expectations in Baton Rouge are through the roof. As if you're the head coach at LSU, you're expected to beat Alabama. You're also expected to win the SEC, and you're also expected to get to the college football playoff. And of course, the last two, Brian Kelly never did. So you look at things right now, the landscape of college football, the game changers being the NIL and the transfer portal. And of course, when it comes to the NIL, LSU has they got a lot of resources to get it done. But we're also seeing some of these other schools pony up the bread to keep their respective coaches as well. Now, I get it. LSU wants a big name hire. They want somebody that is going to move the needle. But would the boosters there be okay if they ended up getting a lesser name, maybe a group of five hire to be their next head coach? You've got to wait and see. You look at things right now, and it's tougher than ever to keep up in the SEC. But of course, the folks in Baton Rouge don't want to hear that. And I don't blame them, as they want someone who is going to lead this program and put fear in everybody else in this league. Now, the bottom line is LSU needs them a coach who understands and embraces the expectations there, as well as the community there. That's something I don't think Brian Kelly ever got. Ed Orgeron got it. Les Miles got it. Of course, Nick Saban understood it. Even Jerry DiNardo understood it, but I simply don't think that Brian Kelly got that. So when it's all said and done, you ask yourself, who are the best coaches out there to lead LSU going forward? Well, I'm going to throw some names out there. And I look at Tulane. Of course, they're in the state of Louisiana. You got John Sumrall, who's having a solid year so far for the Green Wave. You look at Jeff Brom at Louisville. It's one of those where he's a Louisville guy, meaning he played for Louisville. He's from Louisville. But if LSU wanted him, I'm sure that they could have him. The big if. Dan Lanning at Oregon, of course, there's been rumors about it. Dan Lanning has said he's not going anywhere. I'll believe it when I see it. But at the same token with Dan Lanning, all of the money and resources that he has at his availability in Eugene, why would he leave? And he's comfortable there. All right. You've got Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, and of course, anytime that a big job is going to be available, Lane Kiffin's name is going to be attached to it, and then possibly a dark horse, if you would, Bob Chesney at James Madison, as he has basically continued off of what Kurt Signetti started there. Nonetheless, I think it's a situation for LSU. They're really going to have to go out there and sweeten the pot if they want a big name coach from another big program to leave. Because in the case of a Dan Lanning, you don't have the pressure that you currently have at Oregon that you would have at LSU, plus the resources that you have in your back pocket in Eugene. I think the same goes for a Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss in regards to leaving for an LSU. So I look at it, and maybe it might not be the guy that Louisiana State necessarily wants, But this program has a lot of questions around it right now because even with that, we just saw Scott Woodward get his walking papers as the athletic director of LSU yesterday. And honestly, you could see the writing on the wall when the governor of the state of Louisiana said that, Scott Woodward was not going to have a hand in who was going to be the next head coach at LSU. And of course, his last two hires got a ton of money via the buyout. We're talking about Ed Orgeron and, of course, right now, Brian Kelly. Like I said, very high expectations at LSU. And it's one of those where it's going to be very interesting to see where this program goes from here. You look at it, ever since LSU won that championship back in 2019, they've had some winning seasons. Okay, the last two under Ed Orgeron were not pretty. Brian Kelly, I don't think Brian Kelly fully understood what he was walking into. I feel like Brian Kelly felt like, you know what, I could just sprinkle the pixie dust on it and make it work, but it was never that case for him. And I think, some will say that he'll regret leaving Notre Dame, but at the end of the day, with the money that he's getting via the buyout, he may never have to work again. So for LSU to make this work with the next guy, regardless if it's a big name hire or it's somebody that they did not anticipate, the bottom line is they've got to get somebody who understands that region. And I say understands that region, understands what it takes to have success there at that school, and of course trying to keep up, with the Joneses in the SEC, which is not an easy task. But with the amount of money that LSU is going to cough over rather, to their next head coach, it comes with the territory. So again, the expectations are through the roof at LSU. Somebody is going to take that job. Will they be able to live up to the challenge? Just got to wait and see. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it'll be my pleasure to give you that follow right back in return. And the same goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you are on Facebook, definitely be sure to check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.